And Derek Humble right now, Senior Operational Consultant with Globe Risk International. And let's talk about that because we now know that these two brothers were on watch lists known to American intelligence, known to French intelligence. In the case of Saeed Kouachi, had gone to Yemen in 2011 for terrorist training, marksmanship, small arms fire. And in the case of his brother, Sharif had wanted to travel to Iraq to fight U.S. forces. So I get the point that you can't watch everybody all the time.
Absolutely.
But were these two not particularly high risk?
What scares me is they obviously weren't high enough on the list, which means who's ahead of them? Who's at the top of the queue? Who are the ones that are actually watching? If they weren't watching these two characters, they got a problem if they weren't important enough for them, because they had all the information. So obviously they were either watching them or they slipped them. It's very difficult, this continuous surveillance business. Eats up manpower, all sorts of problems with it. You know, you follow these two guys, they go into a hardware store, they buy some gasoline, they buy some, some tools. Is that an offense? Do you jump on them then? No, you can't. But they can use gasoline, they can use an axe, they can use anything in their attacks.
And there has to be this constant recalibration that goes on. Who is a threat? Who isn't a threat? How high risk of a threat would they be? What are they capable of?
And what's your budget? This is
What's your budget?
Very expensive business. I mean, back to London when we were watching for the subsequent reactions after a subway bombing, the 7/7 bombing, they were watching an individual. A second individual came out of the building. They thought it was him. He was running towards the subway. They chased him onto the subway and shot him dead. Guess what? He was innocent. Had nothing to do with it. So there's all sorts of conflicts going on there amongst the operators. Who are they watching? What's their danger level? What constitutes a reason to actually arrest them or interdict what they're trying to do? Very, very difficult.
Let me ask you this. We were following, of course, both these stories throughout the day. There was the hostage taking at the kosher supermarket in Paris. There was the standoff with the Kouachi brothers north of Paris. The supermarket gunman at this kosher supermarket told French television that he was coordinating his actions with the killers of Charlie Hebdo. What do you make of that coordination, if it turns out to be accurate?
Well, they're good at claiming things.
Sure.
They want to grandiose themselves. But who knows, they might have some form of cellular phone contact, wouldn't surprise me. Maybe they're living in the same block, maybe they met each other in the Yemen, who knows. But to have it coordinated, I'm not so sure it was coordinated as much as inspired. You look at our two incidents. There was the unfortunate soldier run down in Montreal, or in Quebec. Did that inspire the next guy that had attacked the hill? I don't know. They could say, yeah, that was coordinated. Unfortunately, neither of them survived.
Because this is the nightmare scenario, sort of a series of undetectable, coordinated attacks that could start happening in Western countries every couple of weeks. This week France, next week Germany, the week after.
What I keep hearing from government officials is remain vigilant. I don't think there's anybody watching this broadcast now that knows what vigilance means. What are you looking for? What do you do if you see something? I mean, we've got a 1-800 number that goes direct into the RCMP. 24 hours a day. You know what? Nobody knows that number. It's invisible. So why isn't it on stickers? Why isn't it on signage? Why isn't it in subway stations and general transportation hubs? Hey, I see this guy acting really weird. Do I call 911? Probably not. Do I call a 1-800 information line? Probably I will. So we can stand up and confront terrorism, but we've got to have our act together.
It reminds me of New York after 9/11, where you would go there and on the subways you would see something, say something.
That's right. And the New Yorkers, I don't know if anybody knows this, but they've got a system, a video system now. They can punch in, Chinese guy with red hat, and the video system will find them in the city. They're so advanced of other nations in terms, they've had the attack and they're motivated. But I want to hear more. This is a dreadful situation, no question. But please, let's learn from it. Let's put some things in place in this country so the Prime Minister can stand up, hand on heart, and say, you know what, we're ready for this. If it happens, this is what we're going to do.
Derek Humble here in studio. I know you're going to be with us throughout the afternoon. We appreciate your
Happy
expertise.
To be here.
Yes.